All right, I will call the Senate Judiciary to order. Would the Secretary please take the roll?
Senator Harris. Senator Dondell Loop. Senator Orenshaw. Senator Wynn. Senator Hansen. Senator Krasner. Senator Stone. Chair Scheibel.
All right, we have one bill on our agenda this afternoon. We will be hearing SB 289, and I will invite Senator Wynn to the table to begin her presentation whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, fellow committee members. My name is Rochelle Wynn. I represent Senate District 3, and I'm here to present Senate Bill 289. Senate Bill 289 actually came to me via the Southern Forum. So I want to thank the Vegas Chamber as well as the City of Las Vegas and all of the people that chose to participate in that process. For those of you who sit on this committee that live up north, or those who are new and have never served on chairing one of the committees, during the Southern Forum, it really starts off with people coming in talking about different issues. And in this case, I was one of the chairs of the Health and Human Services committee, and we heard from a lot of different people about things that they wanted us to talk about. And one of the issues that came to the forefront of those conversations was workplace violence. And in particular, it had to do with our providers and many times our frontline workers that were working in our hospital settings, especially during the COVID pandemic. And it brought to light some of the problems with our current existing statute. I wanted to apologize to all of the committee members. You should have the two proposed amendments. One has been proposed and it was worked on with various stakeholders, and it says proposed amendments to SB 289 on the top of it. It is 2 pages. And then the second one is a friendly amendment that was brought from Clark County and UMC, and that is a 1-page document that is there. And I will be working from that amendment. When I first got this language, there was some language in here that was never intended to be in here. And I'll start with some of the easiest stuff first, just to give you an example of what it is. If you look at I think you have a color copy page of the 2-page amendment that says proposed amendments to Senate Bill 289. And if you turn to page 2, you will see that I removed the rebuttable presumption that is not present for any of the other alleged victims eligible for enhanced penalties. And so I took those 2 rebuttable presumptions. If you'll see, this is an existing law that covers a lot of protected people. And what was happening is, if you look at the provider of health care, it means a physician, medical student, and there is a laundry list of people that are included. But people that were not included, in particular, were behavioral health technicians, and they were having interaction with the public. And so what this bill and what Senate Bill 289 hopes to accomplish is to also include people that weren't included in the original language of the bill. And a lot of the language, I don't know why there was a rebuttable presumption in this particular section, and that's why we sought to remove it, because it wasn't. If you'll see at the top of page 2, there's some green language. That section A, 1, 2, and 3 really emulates what's already existing in statute for other people, and so we just tried to copy that behavior. So if you'll look at the original, section 1 of the bill, and you go down to subsection 8, a civilian employee or volunteer of law enforcement agency, you'll see that those similar 3 things are just emulated in this, where the provider of health services, or provider of health care. So similar to the law enforcement, it interacts with public, performs tasks related to law enforcement, wears identifying clothing or identification, when they're working in those facilities. So that language is just meant to emulate this and to be more inclusive. If you look at Clark County and UMC's amendment, they were concerned because they were having a huge uptake of healthcare providers that were being followed on their premises, like in their parking lots or in the portico areas, when their employees were out there. And in fact, they said that non-clinical staff who would now be included in this bill were often called into situations and subject to physical abuse and or verbal threats. And in fact, they said UMC in the past year had 132 incidents in 2021 and 293 incidents in 2022. So obviously there is an uptick in that. Also, the healthcare was moving beyond the walls of the physical walls of the hospital into the parking lot, people being followed out to their cars. And you'll probably hear some statements, and I know that there are some people in Las Vegas, and I believe they are at the desk. I think I have Dave Bustos, and I think that's who is down there. There might be someone else that is down there too, and they can maybe answer any questions that you might have, at least for their particular facility, as it pertains to this. So this is just seeking, again, to include those other healthcare workers that were excluded from the original language of the bill. And with that, I will be ready for any questions you might have.
Thank you. Thank you. Do you want to allow your presenters down south to weigh in before we go to questions, or?
I think we can go to questions.
Okay.
If there's any particular questions you have for our healthcare providers, I believe they could answer it if you'd like to ask them directly.
All right. It looks like Senator Don Darrell Loop has a question. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I would like to know, when you say is on the property or premises, where does that, kind of what's the line there that they cross? Is that once they step into the parking lot from the sidewalk? I know with UMC, the surrounding area isn't exactly square, if you will, and most hospitals aren't. So could you just kind of describe, is there an actual description of property, or where does that happen?
I think the intention was to include like the parking lot and the like property, so not just within the context of the building, but I believe there is someone from UMC that down there that might be able to answer that question. If the chair doesn't mind, I will punt to them. I see them talking. I'm phoning a friend.
David Bustos, that's B-U-S-T-O-S, Director of Public Safety at University Medical Center of Southern Nevada. For the record, good afternoon, Senator Scheibel and committee members. I'm here today to support Senate Bill 289, Crimes Against Healthcare Providers. UMC not only supports enhanced protection for healthcare clinicians,
Mr.
but also
Bustos?
requests that the yes, ma'am.
Before you get into your testimony, I think there was a question from a member of the committee here that we were hoping you could help Senator Wynn answer.
Rochelle Wynn, for the record. I believe the question from Senator Don Darrell Loop was, what are the premises of UMC's campus?
And I can clarify that, Mr. Bustos. I was just trying to figure out where the property started. Is it when you step off of the sidewalk onto the parking lot? Is when you walk into the building? UMC, like I said, is not really a square. So what is considered property or premises?
David Bustos, for the record. Yes, ma'am. It's once a vehicle or anyone's on the parking lots of the premises of the campus.
Rochelle Wynn, for the record. If we need clarification on that in statute, I'm be more than happy to work on something that would give more specificity to that definition.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, I'm going to go to other members of the committee for questions, then we'll come back to Las Vegas for a testimony in a few minutes. So, other questions from members? Well, all right, there were no other questions. So, thank you for your presentation, and we'll go right to Las Vegas for testimony in support of SB 289. And each of you will have 2 minutes. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
David Bustos, Director of Public Safety at University Medical Center. For the record, good afternoon, Senator Scheibel and committee members. I'm here today to support Senate Bill 289, Crimes Against Healthcare Providers. UMC not only supports enhanced protection for healthcare clinicians, but also requests the enhanced protection to be extended to non-clinical employees. Non-clinical employees such as security officers, volunteers, concierges, interpreters play a key role in providing the best service to patients and visitors at UMC. UMC is Nevada's only Level 1 trauma center. We receive patients suffering from traffic accidents, burns, shootings, and stabbings. In some cases, trauma victims do not arrive via ambulance, but are rather dropped off at entrances and parking lots across the campus. Security officers, concierges, or volunteers who are not clinical staff are often the first to receive reports of emergency outside. Gunshot victims, GSWs, arriving by a private vehicle places the entire UMC staff at risk. GSW patients arriving at hospitals are very intense and can create a very volatile situation, as sometimes they're connected to gangs. If they are connected to gangs, it usually results in a large gathering of people on UMC campus. While clinicians are treating the patient, non-clinical staff are left to assist, who are often subjected to verbal or physical abuse. Security and concierges are usually the first employees visitors encounter for guidance and assistance. Unfortunately, some visitors and patients can be hostile and threatening towards our employees. In a recent incident, a visitor became threatening towards our concierge, which resulted in us calling law enforcement. Las Vegas Metropolitan Police did charge her with a misdemeanor, but if protected by NRS 200.471, Section 2C, the perpetrator would have been charged with the Category D felony. At UMC, we strive to ensure our employees feel safe on campus and continue to update our security measures for our community. Thank you for your time and support of Senate Bill 289.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chair Scheibel and members of the committee. My name is Jill Goodman, JILLGOODMAN, and I'm the director of the Pavilion at Southern Hills. I've been a nurse in Las Vegas for 39 years and at the Pavilion for the last 4. I learned about the statute after a patient assaulted and injured a mental health technician without provocation, and Metro Police was called and brought to the Pavilion. It was then that I was told that a mental health technician was not a protected person under the statute, and they can only make a report and the patient given a citation. If a patient had assaulted an RN or a physician with the injury sustained, the patient would have been charged. Any person working in the healthcare industry and providing care to patients should be protected under the statute. Mental health technicians are providing continuous monitoring and safety and assist in all the recovery of patients in our facility. Since March of 2019, we have had 86 employee assaults facility-wide documented by the healthcare department. 54 of those assaults were from the Pavilion. Only 9 were removed from the facility with the assistance of the Metro Police Department with extreme violent behavior. These assaultive behaviors were not a result of their mental health diagnosis, and which were reviewed by a psychiatrist prior to being removed. All staff are trained to verbally de-escalate a patient who may be heightening or experiencing a crisis. Multiple strategies are implemented to prevent a patient from escalating. We have hospital-wide BERT teams. We have one-to-one assignments for an aggressive or escalated patient. We do a multitude of interventions to make sure that the input and the protection of a patient is always first. Recently, we experienced a patient who targeted a mental health technician. This patient returned to our facility after being discharged and stood at the employee entrance of the Pavilion on the night shift to find this tech. Another staff member recognized this patient as recently being in our building and called security and the police department. Once the security came, the patient fled when they arrived, but the situation could have been a very different outcome. I asked the committee to understand the necessity of extending this NRS statute to include not only the mental health technician as a protected person, but also extend the healthcare premises of the building and grounds, which all employees come in and out of. Thank you for your time and consideration in this important matter.
Thank you, Chair Scheibel and other members of the committee. My name is Kenny Munkle. I am here today representing the Hospital Corporation of America, also known as HCA. I work at the behavioral health facility at Southern Hills Hospital, also known as the Pavilion. I currently hold the position of a mental health technician and have been working as one for more than 20 years here in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm here to talk to you about the importance of having statute NRS 200.471 changed. Within the current statute, I, along with other mental health technicians, are not protected if a patient under our care at our facility decides to become violently aggressive and injures one of us. In all my years working as a mental health technician, I have seen many staff hurt, including myself. Some of the staff are attacked so severely that they can no longer perform their job duties and unfortunately must quit their jobs. As a mental health technician, we are the staff members that spend the most time with the patients within our facility. It's a 12-hour shift. We get to know the patients very well as we are there to observe and report all their behaviors, both good and bad. There are times the patients don't have their demands met and verbally state to us they will become physically violent to get their demands met. Unfortunately, more times than wanted, the patient acts upon their threats and violently assaults a staff member. In closing, all staff members should be protected along with the rest of the current licensed healthcare workers that are protected today. As a mental health technician, we are given the opportunity to truly make a difference in the patients' lives that are going through some form of crisis. Thank you for your time and consideration. I am honored to be here, and I greatly appreciate you all.
All right, is there anybody else in Las Vegas wishing to testify in support of SB 289?
No one in person?
Okay, thank you. Then we will go to Carson City for testimony in person in support of SB 289.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Dylan Keith with the Vegas Chamber, and it was also my pleasure to oversee the Southern Nevada Forum. First, I wanted to thank our co-chairs for the hard work that they do. This wouldn't be possible, and we wouldn't be able to bring these bipartisan effort bills before you today. The Chamber is in strong support of this bill. We are currently experiencing a severe shortage of our medical workers, and they're here to serve Nevadans and do the work that is tough. It's hard to go in and do every day, and the least we can do is give them the proper protections so that they feel safe to go into work and serve Nevadans each and every day. We ask for your support, and thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, Chair Scheibel, members of the committee. Adrian Hunt, ADRIANHUNT, representing Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. We support SB 289 to continue protecting our healthcare providers and healthcare and detention facilities. We appreciate Senator Nguyen for bringing this bill forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Scheibel, members of the Senate Judiciary Committee. My name is John Jones, and I'm here on behalf of the Nevada District Attorneys Association in support of SB 289 with the amendments. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Patrick Kelly. I'm with the Nevada Hospital Association. We support SB 289. Our hospitals take a team approach to delivering health care, and every employee, contractor, and volunteer are an essential part of that team. We believe that all our team members should be afforded equal protection from violence under the law. Thank you.
Joan Hall, Nevada Rural Hospital Partners. We also are in support of this bill to protect our health workers. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Marlene Lockard, and I'm representing SEIU 1107. We are very pleased to support this bill that furthers the safety and enhancement of penalties for the violence against healthcare workers. We were able, a couple of sessions ago, you might recall, able to get important legislation passed for our nurses, and protections in this expands, and we appreciate that. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Senator Scheibel and members of the committee. My name is Mary, M-A-R-I, Nakashima Nielsen. I can leave a card for spelling. We're grateful. I'm representing the Perkins Company and the Nevada State Medical Association, which represents physicians, and consider ourselves a patient advocacy organization. We're grateful for the current protections, and we certainly support the expanding the definition for additional healthcare providers.
Good afternoon, Chair Scheibel and members of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Mary Sarah Kinner with the Washoe County Sheriff's Office. I will just say ditto. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Jimmy Lau, first name J-I-M-M-Y, last name Lau, L-A-U, with Ferrari Reader Public Affairs representing Dignity Health St. Rose Dominican. St. Rose is the largest not-for-profit hospital system in Nevada, operating 7 acute care facilities. We're happy to be here in support of this bill for our workers and for our hospital partners. Thank you.
All right, I don't see anybody else coming up to give testimony in person in Carson City, so we will go to the phones for testimony in support of SB 289.
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to testify in support of SB 289, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon, Chair Scheibel, members of the committee. My name is Greg Herrera, H-E-R-R-E-R-A, representing the Nevada Sheriffs and Chiefs Association. The Nevada Sheriffs and Chiefs Association is in support of Senate Bill 289, and we would like to thank Senator Wynn for bringing this important bill forward. The protection and safety of Nevada healthcare providers, workers, and volunteers is paramount and must be a priority. We would respectfully request that you join us in supporting SB 289. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Scheibel and members of the committee for both your time and attentiveness in hearing the testimonies today. My name is Johanna Maurer, and I am here today to represent Southern Hills Hospital. Having spent the past 9 years as a registered nurse working in the behavioral health field, I have personally witnessed numerous patient assaults upon healthcare workers. In addition to witnessing these egregious events, I myself have been the victim of 2 such assaults. Not only do patient assaults result in immediate bodily injury to a healthcare worker, but they also leave that employee with lasting emotional trauma, which they must daily work to overcome to continue their job of providing excellent patient care to the population whom they serve. As a licensed registered nurse, I fall under the protection of the current NRS statute in the event of experiencing a patient assault. However, some of my fellow coworkers are not currently granted this level of protection from the law. These include, but are not limited to, unlicensed hospital personnel, such as mental health technicians, security, dietary aides, environmental service employees, and maintenance workers. Oftentimes, these individuals are at the forefront of patient care in our facility, and they receive the brunt of patients' assaultive behaviors. Over the past 4 years of my department being open, there have been 54 patient assaults against healthcare workers. The extent of these assaults ranges from punches and bites to fractured bones, strangulation, and even assault with the use of a deadly weapon. Of these 54 incidents, 25 of the assaults have been perpetrated on unlicensed mental health care workers. Therefore, approximately 50% of all patient assaults experienced in my facility have been committed against unprotected healthcare workers. These results are staggering and leave me questioning how my fellow coworkers' lives are seemingly not valued to the degree that licensed healthcare workers' lives currently are in the eyes of the law of this proud state. I ask you to please hear my concerns and make it your personal mission to extend the current NRS statute to include these individuals who not only give of themselves daily for the betterment of human life, but lack equal representation in the eyes of the law regarding safety in the workplace. Thank you for listening to my testimony on this matter and being an integral part in the inclusion of all healthcare workers' protection under Nevada law.
Chair, there aren't any further callers at this time.
All right, thank you. We will go to testimony in opposition to SB 289, starting with anybody in person in Carson City or Las Vegas. I don't see anybody coming to the table in either location, so we will go to the phone for testimony in opposition to SB 289.
If you would like to testify in opposition to SB 289, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon, Chair Scheibel, and thank you to all the senators. We had actually requested to voice our support for this bill, and unfortunately, I'm not sure what happened that we are right now at the opposition, but we are not. So we want to support this bill. My name is Suresh Bhushan, S-U-R-E-S-H, Bhushan, B-H-U-S-H-A-N. I am the medical director at Southern Hills Hospital Medical Center Behavioral Health Unit. I fully support this bill, and primarily because mental health technicians are our first-line healthcare providers. They are the ones who are in the front lines every day with the patient, more than the nurses or the physicians, and they bear brunt of some of the most acute psychotic behavior or aggressive behavior. So I definitely support, sort of protections for our mental health technicians. I understand that most of our patients are mental health patients, but when they become extraordinarily violent, there are other means to help our patients. So my job is to make sure that they are not abandoned from mental health treatment, but to ensure that they get the right sort of a kind of a treatment in the right safe setting, both for the patient and the care providers. And that is my intention, and that is why I fully support this bill. Thank you.
Chair, there aren't any further callers at this time.
All right, then we will go to testimony in neutral on SB 289. Anybody wishing to give neutral testimony in person is invited to the table in either Las Vegas or Carson City. But not seeing any, we will go to the phones for neutral testimony on SB 289.
If you would like to testify in neutral for SB 289, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers at this time.
All right, thank you. Then that concludes testimony on SB 289. We'll invite the sponsor back up to the table. I understand there are a few questions for her, and we will start with Senator Hansen.
Thanks, Madam Chair. After going over the bill and listening to the testimony, one thing that struck me was on page 3, which is section 1, if you look at lines 20 through 41, we're identifying all the different peoples or providers, but then you've got a beautiful catch-all in 42 and 43 that says any person who's employed by, serves as a contractor for, or volunteers at a healthcare facility would be defined as a provider of healthcare. Why don't we just cross out 20 through 41? And no, seriously, because like the person just called, we have people working in the cafeteria. This one, your bill includes contractors. You have somebody working on the HVAC system who gets beat up. They're inside the building. Volunteers. So you've got a catch-all at the end of your bill that does that. I'm just kind of wondering why we don't start with that and just say, look, anybody in any healthcare facility who is employed there, serves as a contractor or volunteers, is a provider of healthcare.
Rochelle Wynn for the record. Believe me, seeing this list, and I will tell you that I also intended in an amendment to include student of emergency medical services as well. And you'll see we took out the contractor language. That was something that was added not at our direction when we were drafting the language. But if you look at page 2 of that amendment, that is where it's further defined, the provider of healthcare. So any person who is employed, serves, and when you look at the provider of healthcare, it means the physician, but it also means they must interact with the public. They must perform tasks related to providing healthcare and wear identifying information, clothing, or uniform that identifies them as an employee or volunteer, as working or volunteering for a healthcare facility. So I think when you add that secondary language, it's necessary. I am not going to say that once I started looking at how many carve-outs there were in this, probably someone should look at our battery statutes because now we have so many people that are carved out and listed in here. But at this time, what this bill does is just to include those people that are working in a healthcare setting, readily identified as either an employee, like working in the healthcare profession in a hospital or in and around a hospital like campus, that are being targeted by this type of physical abuse.
Okay, well, I'm happy with keeping the contractor thing in there. Honestly, look, anybody that gets beat up by somebody inside a facility like that should have the equal protection of the laws, at least the equal punishment of the laws. Okay, so the guy that's the doctor in the suit gets beat up, and a guy working who's the custodian and not wearing a uniform gets beat up. Why is the doctor higher in the scale of punishment than anybody else in the building?
Rochelle Wynn, for the record, and looking at the legislative history for the other people that are included within this light battery statute that have this enhancement, when you look at them, it looks like people that would be targeted because of their position in that, like, of their job, whether it's law enforcement in Section 8 or firefighting in Section 9 or judges and prosecuting attorneys in some of these other areas. I think the intent of the statute, when you look at the legislative history, is that these people were being targeted because of their role or because of their position. And that's where, when you look at the provider of healthcare, that they are being targeted because of that thing. So, but in this case, the employed by, we felt like it covered the contractors that were working in the building as well. And that's why that language was taken out, as well as the volunteers. And then that secondary language, which is consistent with the other language in the statute, the provider of healthcare must interact with the public, perform tasks related to providing healthcare, and wear identifying information, is just emulating what's already existing in statute. And so we wanted that consistency.
Okay, well, I got it. I just think that sometimes we have, just like you, just sitting here, you found another category that you're going to add to that list. And it's sort of like we should make it one big catch-all for everybody in a healthcare facility who gets attacked by a person, whether or not they're a doctor, the custodian, somebody working in the cafeteria, whatever it may be. So I'm always uncomfortable when I see different layers of punishment for specific individuals because they're licensed versus unlicensed, or in a uniform and not in a uniform. My idea is if somebody does something illegally, the punishment should be pretty much the same, whether you're the President of the United States or you're a plumber. Okay, so anyway, that's just my thoughts. Thank you.
And Rochelle Wynn, for the record, I know that there are plenty of people when we're going through this, perhaps in 2025, you can bring a bill to revise the battery statute.
Well, you're the brave one that took on, changing tickets to non-criminal stuff that you thought would be so easy. So you're going to be here in 2025 too. So thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, any other questions? All right, not seeing any other questions, we will bring this hearing to a close, and we're going to take a brief 1-minute recess. Members, please don't leave. All right. Well, I'm not sure why I hit the gavel to come back into meeting. I don't know if I'm supposed to do that, but we will reconvene for public comment. If there's anybody in person wishing to give public comment in Carson City or Las Vegas, now is the time to come to the table. But not seeing anybody, we will go to the phones for public comment, please.
If you would like to provide public comment, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, it doesn't seem like we have any callers at this time.
All right. In that case, we will be adjourned.